So today we're gonna work on a 2017 Jaguar XE 2.5, and I'm gonna show you how to replace the pads without a scanner, because for the most part you got to retract the brakes, the emergency brakes, so you could do it. So let's get started. So for the most part, this is probably the same as a Lexus and some of the other Jaguars. Actually, this is it's actually a lot simpler than the other ones, but you need a screwdriver, flat, a 7mm Allen, a 5mm Allen, something to push the actual piston in, and the specialty tool of the day is an inverted Torx E12, whatever the fuck that means, but yeah. So the whole point of this is to take off this emergency motor chingus mabob, and it's got two 5mm bolts holding it down. So let's start by taking this 5mm bolt. I'm not sure if you can see because I'm using my phone, but let's take this off. These two. This one's pretty easy to get to, and the other one is fairly simple to get to. You just need to line it up and right there, so it's not bad. So you'll notice that when you take the final 12, it'll kind of shift forward because it's supposed to go there, and it'll just pop forward because there's tension. It's actually applying brakes right now, so don't worry too much. And then we use our flat screwdriver to pry this out and take this out. So let's see if I can do it with the. You don't need to add a lot of pressure. It just pops out fairly simple. Alright, so once we get it out, this is how it looks. That's the drive, and this is the actual knob that pushes on the piston and applies the brake electronically. So now let's take the caliper off. You take these little boots off, and then there's a 7mm bolt. So let's take that off. So now that we took the two 7mm bolts off, then we just take the little spring. Careful with it, it's got a little bit of pop. Oop. We basically just can't fucking do this with one hand. There you go. Cool. And then we just take the other side off. Pretty much. That's how it goes. And then we just take the caliper off with a little persuasion again. Just pry it off a little bit. Just a tad. Not too much pressure. Just enough pressure to slip it out. Could use both hands, but okay. Well, there's the inner pad, and that's the piston. So then you put your caliper piston depressor. You don't have to go fancy and wazoo like this one, but just enough. You'll notice that normally when you press this on, you don't get that much resistance, and the piston should go in. With this one, you gotta put your fancy tool, and you could actually just turn it. So you turn it a little bit, just by hand. You don't need a freaking wrench. And look, goes inside. Okay? No, thank you. So you keep on spinning it, and you depress it. If I had both hands, I could do it with both hands. I'm just showing you guys. And then you'll hear it bottom out. After you bottom out, you're done with this. And you depress it all the way down. And you're done. That's it. And then you just put the pads, put everything back how you put it. And yeah, so let's put the pads on and then put the calipers. Alright, so now I got the caliper in, put the spring in, put the 7mm bolts in, put these little caps in. Now, I always add a little bit of lubricant around the seal just to make it easier to slip in, because if not, the seal could fold fold over itself. I haven't seen it, but just as a precaution, I just put a little bit. It doesn't really matter. I just use 3M. You can use WD-40, use spit, water, soda. It doesn't really matter. Just a little bit of something. A little bit. And I just run it all across the O-ring, like so. We get the motor chingamabob, and you kind of gotta line it up like so. You just kind of follow. You gotta kind of like find the grooves on the motor. It's all by feel. Any fucking minute now. Yeah. And if it doesn't line up, that's when you get your tool and just kind of move it a bit. So it's kind of like a back and forth game. You move it a bit to line up the splines. There we go. Beautiful. So I just moved it a bit, and then that one lines up. So let's go back up and play with it. Pretty much. So we got our 5mm bolts back in the hole, and we get our tool. Then you just put the 5mm bolts, and pretty much that's it. Let's put this on for you, and there you go. Done. Pretty much done. Now the right side was a little different because it had the sensor for the brake wear sensor that goes here, and it routes all the way freaking around the shock and the lever. But this is probably the same process on the right side. And make sure you put your spring in, and that's it. That's how you do it without using a scan tool. Thanks for watching, fellas.